The topic at hand is the criminalization of populations that are at risk and or disadvantaged by the means of societal and safety norms. This course of 608 is specific towards policies, communities, organizations, and what defines them. Communities can be defined as individuals who share something in common or a group of people that are alike and may have a sense of belonging together. The community being discussed is the population who are without homes, those who are facing homelessness. Homelessness in Virginia is defined as living in shelters or places that are not habitable, or exiting a house that the residents have had lived in for non-consecutive months. The homeless population is subject to harsh criminalization brought on by a system that has failed them, by the lack of affordable housing, unemployment, low wages, poverty, mental illness, and substance abuse. Mental illness and substance abuse are still two areas that are criminalized and lack the resources. I have a graph chart here that shows you the statistics of who faces homelessness. So, and this is in Virginia, that 3,928 people who face homelessness, and it has decreased since 2004. And everything has slightly decreased, but there's still a higher amount. And so this is the population. These are the populations who primarily face homelessness. So some examples of how the homeless population has been faced by criminalization and not cared for as much is that during the times of COVID and protesting and citywide curfews, many homeless people were arrested and faced criminal charges. And that's unfair because for people who are homeless, they are without shelter. There's nowhere for them to go besides shelters, which are sometimes overcrowded, to avoid breaking curfew. Another example is that homeless people are often displaced from environments where they're used to in public spaces. The third is that their homeless people, they face a higher rate of criminalization of petty crimes such as jaywalking, panhandling, and sleeping. There are anti-homeless legislation and laws, such as it's illegal to sleep in your car. It's illegal to sleep outside. Panhandling or asking for money is illegal. Loitering in public spaces is illegal, and there are laws that prohibit food sharing with homeless people. So there are policies and recommendations and legislation already in place, such as affordable housing, which makes it easier for people who are on low wages to have housing for themselves and for their families. There are also other laws or bills that are in the process of being passed and have already been passed, such as the Virginia Fair Housing Act, which prohibits landlords from discriminating against potential tenants and tenants for race, sex, gender, orientation, and affiliation with any religion. So, and the government is also looking into homeless assistance grants, which is going to give money to organizations that help homelessness. There are also acts such as the HEROES Act, where they are trying to revise the language and regulations that may prevent people from being inside the shelters, and trying to create so they can be less strict and allow more people to come into the facility. The second example of criminalization of disadvantaged peoples is the criminalization of Black and Brown students, which is essentially the school to prison pipeline. The trajectory and statistical evidence that getting in trouble in school can lead to contact with the criminal justice system, where Black girls are 6 times more likely to be suspended compared to their peers. Criminalization in the school system looks like zero tolerance policies, which are punishments that are implemented for breaking rules, as small as having pointing your fingers like it's a gun. That's zero tolerance, which then leads to being expelled. And being expelled means that you're permanently removed from the school. There are also police officers within the school, which is kind of weird when you think about it. And which leads to, when there are police officers in the school, it leads to a higher rate of incarceration, which makes the school to prison pipeline easier to fulfill, essentially. In the year 2019, in Richmond, 121 students from Martin Luther King and Huguenot High School were arrested, just to put that in a little bit of context for the area of Richmond. I have another graph that shows what, to be more specific about what I'm talking about. All right, so this shows that students who have been suspended or expelled are 2 times more likely to drop out than students who have not, whereas Black students are suspended and expelled 3 times more likely than white students. So I'm running out of time, but I want to just say that these populations are in fact criminalized more, and they're not a protected class, which makes it harder for them to face rights. And as social workers, it's our job to protect them and try to create policies to protect these classes of citizens.